That the magic, it's automatic. Gotta mask, who was at it? Living legend, lethal weapon. Mastermind, never tried. Tell him on. If I am in second, it's after no one. Just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline. Big time. I'm ahead time, the rare kind. Big time. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind. Big time.
There is something about the infinite possibility of the new. A new series of the T100 Triathlon World Tour brings with it new hopes and new dreams, new faces and new places, new plot lines, new subplots, new storylines, new headlines, new challengers for sure, and new champions, well, possibly. If we have learned anything from 2024, this is the toughest endurance racing on the planet. And so it is time once again to buckle up and enjoy the ride, and the swim, and the run. This is how the calendar unfolds. We're in Singapore this weekend. Then it's North America, San Francisco in May, Vancouver in June. Then it's the European leg, French Riviera in late June, London in August, Valencia on the 20th of September, back to the US for Lake Las Vegas, and then it's Dubai mid-November before the grand final in Qatar in mid-December. And that is where we will crown our T100 world champion. If you weren't with us last time around, these are the T's and C's. We have 20 men and women contracted to the T100, 9 races, as we've mentioned, including the grand final in Qatar in December. Each athlete must race a minimum of 5 races, which includes Qatar. Points are scored at each race, 35 for coming first, all the way down to 1 for coming 20th. An athlete's season score will come from their best 4 races, plus the points in Qatar, where there are more points on offer as well, up to 55 up for grabs for first place in Qatar. And the world champion, well, they take home a cheque for a cool $210,000 at the end of the season.
On your marks.
And we are racing here in Singapore. The conditions are as challenging as it gets. A water temperature of 30.3 degrees and an air temperature of 34.7 degrees. This is going to be as brutal and unrelenting as it gets for these athletes. I'm Matt Baker, and alongside me for this one is the 2018 World Triathlon Champion and Olympic and Commonwealth Games medalist, Vicky Holland. Vicky, the T100 is back, and what a location to kick things off.
Oh, Matt, I was sat here as we were doing those call-outs and I was getting goosebumps all over me watching the athletes come down to the start. It is so good to be back, and what a location for it. We've got to start by saying that we're just barely 100 metres into the swim, and already look how far that's strung out. The athlete nearest to camera leading that line is Jess Learmonth, and on the other side is Lucy Charles-Barclay. No surprise at all to see it be those 2 athletes leading, and I'm sure they're going to make it really hard for the other girls from the very, very first moments.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see those athletes. I mean, in terms of swim caps, we've got a blue swim cap for Lucy Charles-Barclay. Keep your eye on her, because she absolutely is going to be right at the very front of this swim. I mean, Vicky, just explain the tactics at this stage. Some of those athletes are going to go out hard and fast. What's the advantage of doing that so early on?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. You want to make it as hard for everyone behind you as you possibly can, and someone who's got a real strength in the swim, like a Lucy Charles-Barclay and a Jess Learmonth, they want to make that break early. They want to make a bit of distance between themselves and others and make it as hard for everyone else as they possibly can do. The water temperature here is about 30.3 degrees Celsius. That was the official temperature given 1 hour before race start. And to be clear, it's incredibly rare for us to swim in water that is over 30 degrees. Usually, I mean, a swimming pool, a racing swimming pool, is about 26 degrees, and those extra 4 degrees are huge. They feel massively different. And for some people, swimming in hot water is just like the hardest thing that you can do. The feeling of being almost really sluggish and being heavy in the water is really hard to overcome, and it's something that's really, really difficult to train. You can become heat adapted by doing all the efforts, the work in a heat chamber or going to really hot locations, but being good at swimming in these conditions is really, really difficult. So it looks like that is still Lucy Charles-Barclay, the distinctive stroke of Lucy at the front there. Jess Learmonth going slightly wide of her at this point, and Flora Duffy still tucked in third. But that group has swollen now. I'm trying to count how many athletes. I think that's 9-10 athletes that have made that front pack, which is a huge group really when we think of the caliber of the front swimmers. We just weren't expecting to have this many athletes here. But again, could that just be the conditions telling the story?
What do you like about Lucy Charles-Barclay's stroke? We've got a really nice angle of it here, nice and close.
She has incredible cadence. She maintains a really high cadence swimming in open water, and it's sort of infallible because nothing's going to get in the way when you're just swinging your arms over that fast.
So they make their way onto the Aussie exit, and trying to get out as smoothly as possible, not moving all that quickly because they are, as you would imagine, their heart rate is going to be super high at this point.
That's right. So it was Julie Derron, I think, who made that pack, and I actually also noticed, and that's Ashley Gentle just jumping in right at the back of that pack. So that is the full pack there. And I noticed that Jess Learmonth took a good look around, and I think she was incredibly surprised to see how many people were there, because she actually said a couple of words to Lucy Charles-Barclay. I didn't catch exactly what they were, but it was definitely surprised to see how many people were there. Jess just taking a little bit of a look back there, trying to see whether that pressure she's put on has done any damage, and so far it doesn't look like they have managed to drop anyone from that pack. Maybe right at the back there it's looking like the final athlete might just be struggling to keep on now, but she's only managed to maybe just distance one or two of them. There we go. So there is one athlete off the back now. So she's starting to make a little bit of damage, and there's a little bit of daylight between the yellow hat of Kate Woff and the purple hat of Indy Lee. It's not critical at this point, but that is now going out to close to one body length, and that might make it a little bit harder for Indy to hold on as we go into the last part of this swim. As we see Julie Derron just moving up past Flora Duffy, as we say, this is a phenomenal swim from Julie Derron. So you really want to sit right on someone's feet, your hand be almost touching their toes as you go into the water. It's a fine balance. You don't want to inhibit them, you don't want them to struggle, but you also, because that obviously slows you down as well, but you also want it to be as easy as possible for you. And this is incredibly interesting here. Flora Duffy, one of the absolute best swimmers in the sport, seemed to be struggling just a little bit to stay on the back of Lucy Charles-Barclay and Jess Learmonth. And it's Julie Derron who has gone round. Now, I don't think anybody would have picked that as a scenario before the race today. She is obviously swimming incredibly well and incredibly confident in how she's doing in the swim. Not just that, but how she's dealing with the hot conditions, because I wouldn't be surprised that she's had to find out that she's had to go really hard, put in a real surge, and you don't want to do that too early in a race with such hot conditions. With the extreme temperatures we've got here, the T100 have provided all the athletes with a box of ice right next to their transition zones. So don't be surprised to see them dunk that over themselves, put some down their suit just as they go.
All right, as they exit the De Boer swim course, they are making their way onto the Aussie exit and out onto the pontoon. And they will try and get their swim skins off as quickly as possible, because you do not want to be running in these amount of layers in this heat.
Yeah, we just saw Julie Derron run past Lucy Charles-Barclay, so she's going to be on a big high right now. Jess Learmonth already pouring water over herself as she heads into transition, trying to take on some fluids. Julie Derron right on her heels. Lucy Charles-Barclay in third, Kate Woff there in fourth, and it was Taylor Spivey just coming up the ramp behind her in the purple hat. We'll have a little bit of a gap back to Flora Duffy before we see the rest of our athletes.
Absolutely. So they make their way past the cheering crowds, which is great to see here in Singapore, onto the blue carpet and round to the bikes.
Well, as they come into transition, we're standing alongside Jan at this point in time. Just give us a little summary of the opening pack that we've got here.
Oh my gosh, I am blown away. There's Julie Derron leading them into T1. Then we've got Lucy Charles-Barclay, who was only out in third. We've got Kate Woff, and last I didn't see Lucy Charles-Barclay here, just putting the ice over her head, something that Sam Laidlow actually invented. Getting their swim skin off, you can see they're already struggling under the heat. Taylor Spivey coming in right here. She is just on the tail end but looks to have a good transition. Choosing to put on her socks first, which is an interesting technique that obviously saves her time in the second transition. And Flora struggling early on. We did not expect her to be in this position. I mean, again, they're marginal positions, but this is certainly the biggest pack we've ever seen in T1.
Fascinating, the ice in the helmet, and it's almost like a sort of ice bar to try and cool you down before you get onto the bike. But these are these little marginal gains. Tell me about how much today these athletes are racing these elements that we've got here, as much as themselves and those around them.
Absolutely. I mean, the ice is much about feeling cool as well, just having some little moment of reprieve from the relentless heat. We see Ash Gentle coming out here. She's actually had a decent swim, I would say, with India Lee just on her heels. This is shaken up. This is certainly not what the Bettys would have predicted in terms of a triathlon and transition one turnout. Ash choosing to take the ice out of her helmet before she puts the helmet on, and not messing around with any socks or any ice cubes that she will put into her suit. She's out there making sure she gets on the back of that pack and wasting no time at all.
Big time!
So the athletes making their way, as I mentioned, up this really sharp part of the Benjamin Shears Bridge. If it looks like this on TV, if it looks steep on TV, you can guarantee it's even steeper in real life.
So Jess Learmonth has overtaken Julie Deron now. She is at the very front of the race.
We can see the rankings there for Flora. Third in the swim, ranked 6th in the field on the bike, and 3rd in the run, 3rd overall. It's an impressive set of statistics.
Yeah, Flora's such an interesting athlete. I just feel like this season, with a full winter under her belt of purely training for this distance, we could see an even better, even more improved Flora Duffy, and that'll be pretty dangerous.
And you'll see, we can talk probably for the first time today about the Race Ranger, which is the device on the bikes, on the back of the bikes, in order to make sure that the athletes are 20 metres apart. They can't go closer than 20 metres unless they're overtaking, a bit like Lucy Charles Barkley is doing now. And you can see the red light flashing there on the back of Julie Deron's bike, indicating she's in the draft zone. She's got 45 seconds to make the pass, and she does it. Let's take a look at Ash Gentle, sort of the first time on the bike. And she's making her way up, I think, the Benjamin Shears Bridge, if I am correct. I mean, Vicky, what are you seeing here? She looks pretty good, I'd say, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. And I think if she's getting time splits out on the course, she'll be pretty happy with where this is at right now. While she won't in any way disrespect those athletes in front of her, I think the one that she will be worried about letting have too big a gap is Julie Deron, and Julie Deron currently has 37 seconds on her. That's down from about, I think it was 44 before, so it's staying roughly the same. And that is probably the one athlete that she'll be a little bit worried about.
Kate Woff, we've got a great view of her just behind Jess out in front. And I mean, look, if she can maintain this pace on the bike, she's a phenomenal runner, as you said. She ran a 33:40 off the bike at the WTCS final in Ponte Vedra at the back end of last year. So she is a phenomenal runner. And yeah, I mean, hey, if she's able to stick with this sort of pace, she could be a massive factor come the end of the race.
Ashley Gentle has gone past Julie Deron, and that's really important for how this race could pan out. Those two athletes seem to be incredibly similar on the run at the back end of last season, running really, really similar times. Julie Deron having the better of Ashley once or twice, but Ashley probably being slightly more consistent overall. So now we're in a situation where Ashley is in front of her, and that is another athlete there just going past Julie Deron. I can't quite get eyes on who that is right now. If our pylon is correct, that will be Lisa Pertera. But it's worth mentioning Lisa Pertera and Hannah Berry, because they are both having really great races in 7th and 8th place. Lisa Pertera
yes,
there.
It is.
And she is an athlete who has again come across from short course racing. She was at the Olympics just last summer. That wasn't her first Olympic Games either. But she decided late last season she was going to start focusing on middle and long distance racing. She raced an Ironman late last year in Cozumel, and she absolutely loves the heat and humidity. So these are conditions that really, really suit her. And while she didn't have a great swim today, she has moved through the field so well on the bike, and she's someone who will relish the run conditions as well. So she's definitely one to watch as we move through this race. There we go, Hannah Berry just coming through now. So that was why the light was flashing on the back of Julie Dowen's bike. And now that light flashes on the back of Hannah Berry's bike just to show that Julie Dowen is currently within that 20-metre draft zone. But she does have a full 45 seconds. And as you can see, it's already gone down to the amber and blue, which means that she is fully within the range that she's allowed to be behind.
As we see Flora Duffy standing next to her husband on the side of the road, we could see she was getting more than 10 minutes behind. She's smiling though.
She's got a smile on her face, which is nice to see. But
it is nice to see.
We don't want to see her out the race, of course we don't, but at least she's got a smile on her face.
Certain athletes are being lapped by Jess Learmont. Not something we see very often in the T100, and maybe just goes to show the pace that Jess is putting out. I'm not entirely sure if her heart rate monitor is reading accurately, otherwise it's saying she's at 96% of her maximum.
Interestingly, how low, say, someone like Julie Dowen's is, 72%.
Oh, as we're just seeing India Lee on the side of the road, she's having some ice, I believe, put down her suit there.
Singapore not proving lucky for her.
Not at all, is it? No, this is never nice to see an athlete sat with head on hands on the side of the course, but it looks like she's overheated.
So our leader, Jess Learmont, makes her way into the transition zone. She's going to be followed not too far behind by Kate Woff, and then there's going to be a big gap to Pertera and Charles Barkley. But for now, let's focus on Jess Learmont and look at how she's getting off the bike.
No mistakes.
Again, we got a little bit of commentary from Jess there as her feet hit the floor. That's just so normal. Cramping, she's saying to someone on the side there, so I think she's probably just starting to feel a little bit sore and tight.
And Kate coming in as well, just off her heels. The distance tells me that she was actually pacing her own race, right? Because she was never close, but she does look a lot more dynamic coming into the transition spot. Jess actually having to stand up there thanks to a cramp, I would assume. She seems to have one in her abdominals, and just really trying to manage the workload, and almost feels like Kate has
going to overtake her, I think,
20
right?
seconds just in transition. Oh, another cramp. Yeah, she's cramping everywhere. Oh, poor thing.
Oh, it's horrible to see. Hopefully it's just a temporary thing while she's bending over to put her shoes on. But Kate Woff takes the lead here in Singapore. She's overtaken Jess Learmont in the transition area, and she will begin this 18-kilometre run in the lead.
Well, we made her our favourite, didn't we? But we didn't probably expect her to do it right out of T2. And she looked so much smoother and in control through T2. She clearly wasn't struggling with any of those cramps that Jess seemed to be almost feeling them everywhere in her body.
As we see Lisa Pertera coming off again, stepping on the line perfectly, just no mistakes to be made.
Yeah, she's had a brilliant ride there. She's ridden all the way through up into third place. 3:45 down. Lucy Charles Barkley, a bit more ginger, a bit of a slower transition there. Some of the other girls doing a bit of a flying dismount. That's what we call it when they sort of continue rolling the bike, step their leg over and keep flowing, whereas Lucy Charles Barkley coming to a complete stop. But both of these athletes moving pretty nicely through transition, and no one else showing yet the cramps that we saw from Jess Learmont. Now we're back with Kate, and she looks better than she did the last time we saw her. She looks like she's running faster and more smoothly, and she went out of transition pretty well, but I would say she's looking even better now than she did as she exited T2.
As we see Ash Gentle.
Super smooth off the bike there, and what is the gap? It's 7 minutes. Bear in mind, last year it was just over 5. She's got 7 minutes now to catch up to Kate Woff at the front if she wants to have a chance of winning this race.
What we do know about Ashley is that she's another athlete that doesn't seem to get affected by these conditions. That was Amelia Watkinson coming in with Ashley Gentle there. Both of those athletes just over 7 minutes behind, and they were 1st and 4th here last year. Both of them really enjoy the conditions of this type of course. And so while we can expect a lot of the athletes in this race to slow down and potentially really struggle as we get further and further into this 18 kilometers, we know that that's not likely to happen with Ashley Gentle, and that really does go in her favor. We just saw there Lisa Pertera running in the opposite direction to Kate Woff, and now she's coming up past Lucy Charles-Barclay as well. So Kate passing these athletes will give her a huge boost. She'll know she's still got several minutes on both of those girls. And we're with Lisa Pertera here, and she's still running, I think, in the splits keep changing. I think she's still in 3rd position. We've got 4th on the pylon, but I'll be interested to see if that reverts back, because she was definitely running in 3rd place, about 25 seconds ahead of Lucy Charles-Barclay the last time we checked. So either there's been a bit of a blip there for Lisa, or she is still running in 3rd place and moving through nicely and catching, most importantly, up to Jess Learmonth in 2nd place. There we go, Jess Learmonth.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But
Just hoping she's not having, you know, some real heat episode here. I mean, she's not looking very stable on her feet. She's looking a bit wobbly, so I'm hoping there are people out there keeping their eyes on her. She's drifting right over to the barriers there, really slowing down to douse herself with some fluids. But
And that's Lucy Charles-Barclay just overtaking Jess there, which...
That's right, puts Jess into 4th as Lucy Charles-Barclay goes up into 3rd. Now she is moving again. She really has to find a rhythm, and if it takes her a minute of walking to just sort of figure that out for her, then that's what she has to do.
So Kate Woff then getting an eye on some of the other athletes as she makes the pass. 3 laps of this 18-kilometre run. I just want to, I mean, mentally, doing 3 laps of a course in this heat, that must just be soul-destroying.
Well, the heat is soul-destroying no matter how many laps they've got, I think. But I actually always loved a 3-lap course. I think that's quite a nice number to do. Take the heat out of it, take that side of it out.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah, if we take the heat and humidity, I actually think it's a nice run course. There we go, Ashley Gentle just making the pass on. Oh, Jess Learmonth, and just looked like she was about to stop, but she sort of carried on again. She
felt
still...
the heat of the motorbike coming.
Oh, yeah, she'll be telling that motorbike to get away from her, I think. But yeah, there we go, another little stopping moment.
Stop. I mean, just put us, and sunglasses off. I mean, just put us in the mindset, though, of Jess now. She's worked so hard to get to this point. She'll be wanting to finish, won't she? So desperately. But her body perhaps is telling her no.
I firmly believe, you know, the athletes that really shine, they're not the ones that want it the most. They're the ones that hate losing the most.
I think now might be a good time to talk about Taylor Spivey. Now, I don't
just about to mention her.
I'm a mind reader, Matt. I mean, I didn't see where she came off the bike, but it wasn't inside the top 10. And she has moved up to 6th place. And she's now only, well, less than a minute behind Ashley Gentle.
She was 11th off the bike.
There we go. So she's 11th off the bike. I think she might even be moving fastest on course. I think she might be moving if she was 11th off the bike, she's definitely moving fastest on course. So she is the fastest runner right now. Here we go, eyes on as we talk about her. And she looks good. That was, again, Lucy Charles-Barclay running in the opposite direction to Kate Woff. So as we see Kate Woff on her way back on the final lap, Lucy Charles-Barclay still has to head out, do that lap of the barrage, up the hill, down the hill. Her quads, I'm sure, will be burning too as she comes back down that hill, and then they'll make their way back along this path that we're seeing Kate Woff run now.
Got eyes now on Lisa Pertera, who is going to finish in 2nd, we think, in this race, but there's still a fair old distance between her and the finish line. This has been a tremendous performance from Great Britain's Kate Woff. She's doing high fives with the biggest smile in Singapore right now, right on her face. The applause of everyone as Kate Woff wins the T100 here in Singapore, takes the tape and raises it in the air in celebration What a performance from Kate Woff, who I think is just starting to understand what she's just achieved.
We're just about to see Lisa Pertera, who's going to be another very happy girl.
Fantastic to see. Lisa Pertera, second place here in Singapore. A brilliant start to the year for Lucy Charles-Barclay, who will have her sights on the race to Qatar later in the year. She goes over the finish line.
Fantastic to see Lucy Charles-Barclay back on a podium. She nearly always finishes on the podium when she's in the racing. Kate Woff, our winner today, takes home the full 35 points. Lisa Pertera in second with Lucy Charles-Barclay in third.
How did you feel out there first sort of, well, in this kind of quality of field time trial race?
Yeah, I mean, my power actually wasn't showing up on my watch, so I was a bit like, oh no, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I just kind of, I don't know, had to go off how I felt, and I felt really good, so I pushed it and I tried to go with the pace, and I thought I would learn to regret it on like lap 5, but I felt really good, and yeah, I don't know, I'm just so happy. I don't understand.
Big time!
Well, after Kate Woff's sensational performance on Saturday, Singapore is once again providing conditions that take no prisoners. It's providing a course that pays no change. And this is a race that requires a self-sacrifice that few of us will ever truly understand. Now it is over to the men. And the roller coaster of 2024 is rebooted and reloaded and ready for 25.
So away we go here in Singapore. Some of the finest triathletes in the world ready to go through a world of pain over the next few hours to see who will be crowned our T100 Singapore champion. Up first, 2 kilometres of the De Boer swim course in the fresh water of Marina Bay before the athletes make their way to the first transition zone. The conditions, put simply, are absolutely brutal. A water temperature of 30 degrees, an air temperature of 33.6 degrees. I'm Matt Baker, and once again, alongside me for this one, the 2018 World Triathlon Champion and Olympic and Commonwealth Games medalist, Vicky Holland. Our second race of the weekend, Vicky. How excited are you for this one?
I am pumped that we are going again today.
Start of a new season on the T100, and our first look here at the swim. And keep your eye on Vincent Luis. He's in the yellow cap there. And the white one, we will try and identify for you. That's Max Stapley.
Yeah, so unsurprising at this point in the swim, we've got those two leading it out. They have both come across from short course racing and are well known in that distance as being our lead swimmers. Max is a wild card, only got his entry to this race relatively recently and is very, very keen to prove himself. He was all week when I've seen him around, he's just been incredibly excited and incredibly grateful to be here, and I know he wants to put a marker down and show what he can do. And Vincent, of course, one of our hotshots, so this is his first season focusing fully on the T100 circuit and doing this middle distance racing, and I know he will be looking to put a marker down early too. We're just getting now our first eyes on Sam Long. Now, this is no surprise, Sam Long will have been fully expecting this for his day. He loves the race here in Singapore. He was second last year and he did come out the water with a 4-minute deficit. So let's just keep our eyes on the clock there and see how he fares today, because I think he will be thinking if he comes out with 4 minutes, it's still game on. So back at the front of the race, and it's still Vincent Luis with Max Stapley on his feet. Not really a huge surprise there, and I wonder if they might, start to consider sharing the load on lap 2. We definitely saw that yesterday in the women's race. It was Lucy Charles-Barclay who led out on lap 1, and then Jess Learmont who took the lead on lap 2 and really started to stretch out that pack and ping a few athletes off the back of it. So with a 2-lap course, it's great because you can just have a look around and see whether you've done enough damage. So in the white hat, just in front of Leo Berger, that's Jelle Geens. That's a fantastic swim from him, because if there was a weakness for Jelle, it was the swim.
So our first chance to see And exactly as your point, I was going to say, these little stumbles there, aren't they, as they get out and they...
And Max looking back exactly as we thought he might do. That's Menno Koolhaas, I think, in third, Martin van Riel in fourth. I think that might have been Tyler. We'll have a quick check when that comes up. Tyler Mislachuk, fifth place there.
Nice little belly flop there from
Yeah, Tyler Mislachuk has made that group. So that's a group of 6. Then at the front of the next group, that's Justus Nieschlag. We've got a couple of lost hats in there. Antonio Benito Lopez, he doesn't have a hat on anymore. That's the red hat there of Hayden Wild. So there's only about 8 seconds separating the back of the front group and the start of the second, but that is crucial.
Well, this is Sam Long, our back marker, going through the Aussie exit now, and we'll get a good understanding of the time difference between him and the leaders, and I think it's going to be around, we'll find out any second.
Just waiting on the update.
3:02.
3:02.
Okay.
So as we said earlier, last year he was exactly 4 minutes down coming out the swim. Now, he might benefit on lap 2 that he can just even pace it, and the sort of surges that people put in right off the dive, they're not going to happen on lap 2. But right now, that's looking on track to be a bigger time deficit than he faced last year. So he's going to have even more work to do than ever if he's going to get himself back up into contention in this race.
You can see there the Art Science Museum. Sam Long, funnily enough, was in there the other day. It's a great video on the T100 YouTube channel. I encourage you to check it out. Him going through some lasers, looking very perplexed and bemused.
I think he said it was a bit trippy, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. So there we go. Good view there of Vincent Louis right at the very front, and right on his feet is Max Stapley, I should say.
Yeah, Vincent has a really distinctive swim style. That hand that's nearest to us sort of turns almost entirely inwards and then slides into the water. It's really unique. Whereas Max behind has a much sort of longer swinging arm stroke. So just really interesting to see, I guess, those different strokes from 2 excellent swimmers. So back with that front group, and there's not been too much change. There may be a little bit of distance appearing between swimmer number 4 and 5 in that group. That is Jelle Geen swimming as number 5 in that group, so he's just starting to lose the feet a little bit. And this is exactly what happened yesterday when Flora started to lose it, and so it'll be interesting to see whether Leo picks up on that, and if he does, whether he's worried, decides that he needs to pop it round and try and hop on the feet, or whether actually he's quite content sitting there and he doesn't mind losing just a few seconds towards the end of this swim.
Vincent Louis of France still in front here, still leading these guys out.
Interestingly, behind, Leo Berger has now gone round Jelle Geens, but it's too late. It's not going to make a difference, but now he's just minimising that gap.
So Vincent Louis makes his way onto the exit, and we're going to go down and join Jan and Alex, and they're going to see these guys come through.
Welcome down to transition of the first of the athletes emerge from the water, ready to get on to the bikes.
Vincent Louis, the man we expected to come out, the coolest man of triathlon coming out, followed by Max Stapley right up the front, and that looks like Martin van Riel, our champion, our third. I would not have put money on that. He has obviously got a full Ironman in his legs. He comes out ahead of Menno Koolhaas, one of the favored men for the swim right here. Leo Berger out next, another French powerhouse. Tyler Mislachuk, one of our men who races the best in the heat that I know of. Everybody looks super smooth, happy to get that ice that they all keep in their helmets. The group of 10 has split into a group of 6 as we see Rico Bogan coming out next. This man is obviously known to struggle in the heat, but I think he's worked on it very much. Followed by the German trio. We've got Mika Nude and we've got Justus Nieschlag coming out. Ahead of Jelle Geens, one of the big favorites, and right in front of us is none other than Hayden Wild, Olympic silver medalist. Greg Barnaby out there, Yannick Stoffler. It's on, it's close. It's much closer than what we saw the field bunched up being yesterday.
This is going to be interesting how this starts to splinter. If it does splinter, who's going to make a move? Overtaking is going to be incredibly difficult at this point because you need to pretty much overtake the entire pack unless there has been a significant gap occurred in the middle. It's going to be really challenging for those athletes a bit further back.
So there we go, eyes on Sam Long, getting out the water. We will then be able to just understand how far back he is and what he's got to do on the bike phenomenal on the bike. We know that. We know he's a good runner as well. Finished second here last year, but it's a 5:37. So he had a good second half of that swim. He was able to make a bit of time back.
Or rather just lose less time on lap 2, right, than he did on lap 1. And I thought that might happen. The real speed of lap 1 doesn't tend to happen on lap 2. But yeah, that is a minute and a half bigger deficit that he's got to overcome than he did last year. So probably not the start he would hope for. But if anybody can overcome these kind of distances, it is Sam Long. We've seen him do it before. And he is, as he said, incredibly mentally tough, and he knows he's just got to ride his own race, do his own thing, look after himself in these conditions, and he'll probably find himself ploughing through the field later on.
So here we go. We can see on screen five athletes. I'll check I'm counting that right. All very, very close to each other. And at this point in the course, you can see all of their race ranges flashing red as 2 more join them. So just to explain, if you're new to the T100, the race ranger is the device on the back of the bike that will tell you how close you are to the person in front. We're a non-drafting form of triathlon on the T100. So if it's flashing red, that means you're within 20 meters. It means you will get penalized. So these guys are going to have to work out pretty quickly in order to not get penalized. Jan, what are they going to do here?
So the thing is that you really want to make sure you get out of that drafting zone. Technically, once the light flashes, you actually have to pass. I think in the early stages, the referees will be lenient, but Hayden's got to really watch out here. If he doesn't go past, that is technically a penalty.
Because he's gone backwards
there,
there,
got to
hasn't
go
he?
all the way past, and that is the trickiness of these big packs. If there's 10 athletes, you know, in theory, there's a minimum of 200 meters to the front, and you have got 45 seconds to pass each of these athletes. You can see Hayden's light has just stopped flashing there. I wonder if we can see a technical official coming in on the left here, eyeing this closely. I think this is kind of first lap chaos, but
they were also going up the hill as well, and I know that they have been told that there will be more leniency on the utilization of race ranger and the drafting as they go up the hill, because the benefit is so much less.
Big time!
A really good visual cue here on just how close all those athletes are. They are pretty much 20 meters, one by one by one, all the way down. One of the great things about this course is seeing the out and back section, and Rico Bogan at the front will have a very, very good understanding of how far back everyone is. But we're still, I said it, you know, we had 16, didn't we, coming out the second transition zone, all within a minute, and that's now, you know, it's dropped slightly to 12, but goodness me, 12 athletes all within a minute of the lead. Good chance to look at Hayden Wild on the bike. Jan, what's catching your eye?
His aerodynamic gloves. I obviously missed the first part of the broadcast. I'm not sure if you've seen them. He had them on very early. Interesting choice. I don't think I've ever seen that before in a T100 or any other long-distance race, really.
What do you like about what you see with Matthias Margirier, Jan?
He's a very strong bike rider, and he's a very consistent athlete. He's somebody who's really worked on himself over the years. I still had the pleasure of racing against him, or rather was faced with the pain of trying to follow his wheel. He is a very strong rider, especially on his good days. He wants to be the next world champion, get on the podium as often as he can, and I think he's bringing a lot of the qualities, which is, you know, a consistency that's going to be needed over a 9-race season. As we see Wild closing the gap to Rico Bogan. Wow. Ooh,
Nice
little smile. He's looking good. He's obviously had some recovery in the downhill from that bridge. And cool, calm and collected so far.
Interesting he's wearing gloves. Haven't seen many of the other athletes wearing gloves there. I'm assuming that's a comfort thing rather than a special cooling glove or something. But yeah, not many of the others doing that.
So back with Mika Noot, who's got Martin van Riel in his sights, I believe. How is Martin van Riel ahead?
That means that Martin van Riel's overtaken him, and they were a little trio. Matthias Margier has gone off the front, though. Interesting that they are not able to go with the pace of Mathis Magier. Again, this is something where we're going to see pacing, see Rico looking over his shoulder there. Has the man gone too hard, too early?
And that red light is flashing, so Hayden Wild has to make the move, and he's doing exactly that. He is overtaking Rico Bogan to take the lead here in Singapore.
I love that, just looking over, a little chirpy chat. Again, you know, this is just where you want to make sure the other guy knows that you're in great spirits, no matter what your spirits actually are. You just want to know, no, this is easy for me, I'm cruising.
With the caliber of runners that we know both Rico Bogan and Hayden Wild are, sort of looking a bit further back, we've obviously got Leo Berger, another fantastic runner. He was third at last year's Olympics, and speak of him and he shall appear. There is Leo Berger indeed, current Olympic bronze medalist. He's also been a world champion in short course racing, and he has raced a few 70.3 races, but never appeared on the T100 circuit. He's one of our hot shots, so it's exciting to have him here. But he's currently given a 49-second advantage to those two athletes right at the front of the race, and be very interesting to see who can hunt down those two athletes if the gaps stay the same as this as they head into the final section of the race on the run. I mean, I know we've still got a quarter of this bike left to go. Yeah, well, we're seeing there on that leaderboard, Vincent Luis is now nearly 8 minutes down,
and Sam Long is there. Sam Long is ahead. The man we cannot discount, because none of this race is done until Sam Long has spoken. We don't know which version we're going to get of him, but he is certainly someone to count on for the last laps of this race.
And he's only lost about 30 seconds across the bike to the front, because he was 5:37 down coming out the water. So he's held his own, completely on his own.
Greg Barnaby, the Ironman Pro Series champion from last year. He took the overall title in the end. Probably not quite the same level of competition as what he's used to from that kind to the T100, but he's made the transition, which is great to see him stepping up and facing the very, very best in the world on a consistent basis. Another flyer on screen here. Rico Bogan has gone and done a little surge. We can see on the data that we've got on the left, he's created a bit of a gap. 6 seconds doesn't seem like much, but it's a good bit of a comfort cushion that you might want to take onto the run.
All right, 300 meters, the gap he's put in. We're going to go down to Alex, who's in transition.
Yes, Rico Bogan emerging into T2, and Kyle is alongside. You were just saying that you're absolutely delighted for him today in the performance that Rico's putting in.
Yeah, he's had an absolute incredible bike leg here, and obviously he's got a lead, which is, you want the wind in your ears, you know, you can get that adrenaline, you get the crowds really coming after you, and you're on the front foot starting this run.
Hayden's got the gloves off as he spins round and prepares to get the shoes on to go running. Tell us about the way that you approach T2. You've put so much into it at this point. 2 down, 1 to go. What are you thinking? What is your process?
Yeah, it's like the first time you get a real indicator of the damage that's been done on the bike. You step off and your legs start running, and sometimes you start cramping, sometimes you feel awesome. And yeah, these guys obviously heading out, the damage might have already been done on the bike. The core temperature might have already gotten really high, and you know, the core temperature only goes one way when you start running, and so limiting that. I think taking a couple of seconds in the aid stations just to slow down, put ice down your suit, and just mitigate those heat is going to be really smart today. We've got a hell of a race on our hands.
Fantastic. We are all set for a grandstand finish. Thank you very much indeed, Carl. Back to you guys in finish.
As we see the two going shoulder to shoulder, Hayden taking the lead for the first time in this run.
I know we're incredibly early on in the run here, and obviously we've got these two athletes running side by side, but for my money, Hayden seems to be controlling himself a little bit more than we have seen previously, and that's exactly what I felt he needed to do to try and win today. I think if he had blasted out of T2 and gone super hard in the first couple of kilometers to put a marker down, that could have spelled disaster for him. So this is, for me, a really mature performance from Hayden, pacing things, again, at this very early stage, but pacing things a lot better than we've possibly seen from him in the past.
Great start from Hayden. As we get eyes on Sam Long, and the chase is on.
Yeah, so Sam Long, 6 minutes and 48 seconds down into transition. So that's Obviously a bigger gap than he had when he headed out onto the bike, but only by around about a minute. So considering he did all of that on his own, not too bad.
Hayden Wild putting pressure on Rico Bogan.
That's a gap. That's a bigger gap than the last time we were seeing these pictures as they make their way out on this first lap of the run course. They've got 3 laps, totaling 18 kilometers.
It's a real toss-up now for Rico as to what his strategy is. He's got the carrot of Hayden Wild to just try and tack onto and go as far as he can with him, and that would be a tactic that in a lot of races I would go for, but I just don't know if that's the tactic you employ in these extreme conditions. I think maybe he needs to run his own race and just potentially back it off a little bit, let Hayden do Hayden's thing. We absolutely knew that we weren't going to see the very best of Martin van Riel today. It would have been astonishing to see him be at the sort of heights we saw him at last season, given what he's done recently. But yeah, I think he is outperforming what we probably thought he would do and looking pretty smooth. Here we are with Rico Bogan. He does look to have slowed quite a bit from what we were seeing before. There's a bit more rock and roll in those shoulders at the moment. That cadence has gone down, and we're going to pan out now and see the gap. Now we can't even see Hayden at this point, and on the side of the screen we're seeing at 15 seconds, and just eyeballing it now, we still haven't got to Hayden. There he is. So that gap has blown out a little bit now. So Rico Bogan starting to metaphorically and physically feel the heat, I think. We just saw Mathis Margerier go in the opposite direction to Hayden Wild, so they'll have got eyes on each other for the first time in a little while.
Support for Hayden Wild out in full force. Some lovely signs from some young fans here in Singapore.
From Hayden's perspective, I mean, this is bliss, where you have the out and back, and when you've got an advantage and when you're moving away, the out and back is beautiful, right? When you're struggling, it's tough because you see that the front runner is running away and everyone else is coming from behind. But from Hayden's perspective, this is really good. This is Yuri Kulin. He looks about as good as he did at lap 1 from last year. 2 laps to go. Let's bring it home, buddy.
Yeah, so there we go. That's Leo Berger now. He has overtaken Mathis Margerier. So Leo Berger moves himself into 3rd place. His next target, if he's going to make any more inroads, as we see Hayden Wild here coming the opposite direction, has to be Rico Bogan, and that means he's got about another minute, 15 seconds or so to chew up if he wants to make it another place higher on that podium today.
Oh, as we see Yelagins being taken off the course, he's obviously decided to abandon the race.
Leo Berger is going to make the move, and at this point in the race, he's going to go into 2nd.
Quick tap on the back there from Leo, just a little bit of a encouragement to Rico, but now Rico's challenge is, can he hold on to a podium place? And that challenge is getting tougher by the second. We have got Mathis Margerier not far behind, and the likes of Martin van Riel and Gregory Barnaby, who are running together super strong as well. Rico's going to have to find another gear if he wants to hold on to a top 3 today. Hayden Wild here now out onto the last lap of the course. We didn't see him come through that transition zone for the end of lap 2, but he is now out on the final lap of the course. Here we go. So Mathis Margerier just being caught up now by both Martin van Riel. Well, actually, no, sorry, they've gone past Rico Bogan. So Gregory Barnaby no longer in shot, but they've gone past Rico Bogan, which means Margerier is now in 3rd with Van Riel right there in 4th. Van Riel challenging for a podium today, Jan. How do we feel about that?
Goodness, that is... I remember the first Ironman, I couldn't walk for a week. I don't know how he's doing it. Gregory Barnaby just in shot now, so he's obviously been dropped. And this is something that we see that, you know, with the fatigue that comes with an Ironman, that you really can take some time to get going. But it is just such a luck of the draw, and he seems to have done everything as good as it possibly could have gone. Wow, imagine Martin going for a podium right here. I mean,
I'm so impressed. And here he is. He has broken away from Mathis Margerier at the start of this 3rd lap, and he is clear into 3rd place. Leo, our 2nd placed athlete of the day. And here we go, coming in the opposite direction. They'll pass each other, I think, for the final time now. Hayden Wilde, our leader, and looking set to become the T100 Singapore champion today.
And he looks absolutely brilliant out there in front. Martin van Riel not far behind. He is on the podium.
Can you hear the noises? That's the effort that he's putting in. So he is giving everything to get a podium today.
So Hayden Wilde takes the applause and will step on to the blue carpet here in Singapore. He fought so hard on that bike. He managed to stretch out the lead on the run, which really cemented his dominance.
Taking his time to take the tape, but there he goes. He's arrived with a bang, and he is delighted, as he should be, to do so.
Hayden Wilde, congratulations. That was amazing. It's great to see Leo Berger with us on the T100 for 2025.
And again, another hotshot contract. What an addition he has been to this racing.
Leo Berger then, the Frenchman, finishing in second. So Martin van Riel making his way on the blue carpet. I think that grimace has just turned into a smile. What a race from Martin van Riel. Confirmation of Hayden Wilde winning, Leo Berger in second, and Martin van Riel in third. He takes the final podium place.
You had to be smart out there today. I went off pretty hard on the swim, and for me it was just too hard. So I dropped back into that second group and paced myself, and then actually started getting more positions throughout the swim, and on the ride just started to head down and ass up, and off we went.
The race to Qatar is well and truly underway. We've had a rough and wild weekend in Singapore. Thanks for your company. Bye for now.